Hello everyone, welcome to TCG and InstantEncore. Learn more about your member benefit. My name is David Dombrowski and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at InstantEncore. We're the leading provider of mobile solutions for performing arts organizations around the world. Our partners use InstantEncore's platform to power their mobile apps, enhance live experiences, and create deeper relationships with their audiences. InstantEncore also powers TN Mobile Plus for the Tessitura network. Our mission is simple: connect arts patrons via technology with the organizations and experiences they love, and do it at a cost that allows everyone to participate. As you know, we recently partnered with TCG, and we're excited to be working with TCG to provide all of you with even more affordable access to mobile engagement tools. So let's dive in. There are 5 guiding questions that we'll be working through for the rest of this webinar. Why are theaters adding mobile apps to their communications mix? How have theater apps evolved in recent years? What value are theater apps adding to the audience experience? How are theaters using their apps to communicate directly with their patrons based on their interests, personal information, and location? How does your TCG membership make having an app for your theater more affordable than ever? So, we all know that the adoption of mobile devices has skyrocketed since the first iPhone was released 9 years ago. But what does mobile adoption in the United States look like today? In the US, 92% of adults own mobile phones. Of them, 79% own smartphones. Additionally, 45% of US households own a tablet computer. Now, you may be thinking, yeah, but my audience is older. They don't use smartphones. That is probably no longer true. What we're seeing here in this chart is from ComScore, where they analyze mobile subscriptions for the United States, and it's showing a comparison of March 2014 to March 2015 in terms of smartphone penetration by age group. And even if we look at the far right, for those who are over the age of 65, we can see that for mobile subscribers in the United States, that in March of 2015, 49% of them over the age of 65 had smartphones. So the rapid adoption of this mobile technology has led to a significant shift within our culture and our relationship to the world around us. And Forrester Research calls this shift the mobile mind shift. The idea that the expectation that we can access relevant content and services on our mobile devices in our immediate context and moments of need. When something grabs our interest, we take out our smartphones and we act on that interest. According to Forrester, this is a mobile moment. And in order to enhance relationships with patrons, theaters need to identify their patrons' mobile moments and give them what they want at that time and in that context. Now, live performance takes place in a specific venue at a certain time. So correspondingly, mobile moments for a live performance are defined by their proximity to that performance in both space and time. There are mobile moments that happen before the audience arrives at the theater. There are mobile moments that happen after they arrive on site. And there are moments that happen after the audience leaves the performance. Now, you may be thinking, well, we use our website to do all of that. Our responsive website has everything on it. Why would we ever need a mobile app? Well, that question assumes that responsive websites and mobile apps should do the same things for theaters and their audiences. But these are 2 different tools within the mobile ecosystem, and they should achieve different goals. Responsively designed websites ensure that no matter which device is being used, web visitors have an optimized experience. Responsively designed sites present the whole site, with the same general purpose content and organization that you can access on a desktop or laptop. They simply changed the layout for a more optimal experience on a smaller mobile device. Mobile apps, on the other hand, take the mobile experience to another level. They do more than simply repackage existing web content and functionality. The app experience can be curated for the user's specific purpose to be contextual, actionable, and easily accessible with capabilities not available through your website. According to Capacity Interactive's recent survey of arts organizations, 91% either had or planned to have a mobile or mobile-enabled website in 2015. Comparatively, 31% either had or planned to have a mobile app in 2015. Now, 31% is a great start, but our society is growing increasingly addicted to using apps on our mobile devices. This chart from Flurry Analytics shows the increase in the number of times per day people around the world use mobile apps, comparing, again, 2014 and 2015. And this data has a sample of over 1 billion people worldwide. And what we're seeing in the comparison of 2014 and 2015 is that there was an increase in all three categories. The three categories that they have defined are regular users who access apps under 16 times per day, super users who access apps 16 to 60 times per day, and mobile addicts, who they define as people who use apps over 60 times per day. And if we look at mobile addicts, we can see there was actually a 59% increase to over 250,000 people who are accessing their mobile apps over 60 times per day. So while we've been becoming more addicted to mobile apps, the percentage of time we've been spending in mobile web browsers has decreased. What we're seeing here from Flurry is a comparison of the amount of time we spent on mobile devices from 2013 to 2015. We can see in 2015 that we spent 220 minutes per day on mobile devices. And of that time, only 10% was spent using the mobile web browser. That means 90% of the time we're using mobile apps. Additionally, if we look at the amount of time we spend using web browsers, we can see that that has decreased by 50% from 2013 to 2015. So it'll be interesting to see what the data for 2016 shows when that comes out. Now, it may be more challenging to develop a larger audience on apps, but these app users are a very loyal bunch. You're always going to have more traffic for your responsive website. You're always going to have a larger number of users, and that's because you get search traffic, you get referral traffic, and you get casual browsers. Now, mobile users, or mobile app users, I should say, will be a smaller number of visitors, but they will spend more time in your app than those who would go to your website. If you look here, you can see they're comparing the top 1,000 mobile apps to the top 1,000 mobile websites. And what they're showing is that, yeah, in terms of unique visitors, you can expect 3 times in terms of visitors for mobile web compared to mobile apps. But if you compare the amount of time spent, you get 20 times more minutes per month spent using an app compared to going to the website. So app users are more invested in your work. They spend more time with your content, and they're actually giving you real estate on their most personal of devices. And apps at their core should really be rewarding people for being more invested in your brand than a casual search on Google. So how have theater apps evolved in recent years? Well, to answer this question, let's explore where these apps started. When theaters first started using mobile apps to engage patrons over the course of their seasons, rather than releasing an app specifically for a single production, they found that they were initially focusing on the content of their seasons, and that hasn't changed. Theaters still provide event content and the ability to purchase tickets. They also connected their app users with photos, news items, interviews with artists, relevant music related to performances, as well as audio content. Theaters also began aggregating content that they were posting on blogs, podcasts, and YouTube so that they could bring multimedia into a singular mobile space. They also helped patrons plan their visit to the theater by providing directions and parking information, as well as identifying nearby restaurants where you can get a bite to eat before or after the show. And then they enabled their patrons to share that content with their friends using whichever communication channels they prefer. And that's really important, to allow the app user to share using the channels that they use rather than prescribing which channels they can use. And then we also helped our patrons follow us on social media and direct them to exactly where they can find our content. So that was all content, and then we began focusing on the user's context. So we began taking a look at what's going on in the world around them, and then using that and leveraging what's going on in the world around them to communicate with them in a way that's relevant to that moment in time. In this particular example, Seattle Shakespeare Company sent out a push notification to their app subscribers in the Seattle area. And this was during the time when the Hawks were going to the Super Bowl. And so what they did is they provided a flash sale for their Seattle area app subscribers, where they could get tickets for $12 for just 12 hours only. And, go Hawks, because they're tapping into the zeitgeist of what's going on in the world around them and in their community, and leveraging that and a way to be relevant. Then we started paying attention to where they are. In this particular example, what you're seeing is a location-triggered message. And the way it worked is that a person who had the Dallas Summer Musicals app was going to see Pippin at the music hall. And as they crossed the geofence barrier, it triggered a message to be sent to their device saying, be sure to check out the app while you're at Pippin for behind-the-scenes content. Again, taking their context into account, the fact that they're attending an event and that they are close to the proximity of the theater. We started paying attention to what they're doing. In this particular example from Berkeley Rep, they released a performance-specific content in their app on the day of the show. So someone who was going to see Latin History for Morons, say at 8 o'clock that night, could open the app that afternoon and get exclusive content about the show. And we started thinking about what they want to do next. In this particular example from Silk Road Rising, a theater company out of Chicago, they're providing a push notification to their app subscribers, letting them know that there's a free staged reading. And you can see they sent that out on a Sunday, and the stage reading was for Tuesday, so they were actually doing it 2 days in advance and allowing the recipient of the message time to make plans to attend. So again, appealing to what they want to do next. So we started with content, and then we added in context, and correspondingly, theater apps became more relevant than they had been previously. By adding context to the content and communicating to people when and where it mattered to them with the content that mattered in that moment, they became much more relevant. So what value are apps adding to the audience experience? Well, let's take it from the top. So if I have a ticket and I'm attending a show at your venue and I have your app, as I'm approaching, I again cross the geofence and it triggers a message to be sent to my device encouraging me to check out the app while I'm at the show for behind the scenes content. And then it takes me directly to that exclusive content within the app. And that exclusive content, that same day performance specific content can take a number of shapes, but let's take a look at an example from Seattle Shakespeare Company. So this is their same day performance specific content for Tartuffe. You can see here we're on an info screen and that there are a number of actions the user can take on the info screen. They can watch a welcome video from the artistic director. They can read director's notes. They can learn 9 things to know, which are bits of trivia, and the folks at Seattle Shakespeare throw in a bit of comedy in there as well, which makes sense. It is Tartuffe. You can also highlight the artist who will be appearing on the stage that night and get access to their bios. And Seattle Shakespeare also includes a donation page within their app. The idea being you just had this great experience at Tartuffe, so why not donate and help us continue to provide these types of experiences for people around the state. In addition to the info screen content, you can also prompt social media activity related to the event. So you can provide them with the ability to check in and let their friends on Facebook or Twitter know that they're attending the show. They can also check in on what used to be called Foursquare and is now called Swarm. There's also a social feed related to the event. The social feed highlights the hashtag for the event and aggregates content from Twitter featuring that hashtag. The user also has the ability to contribute using Twitter or Instagram or the in-app form. And people use this social area in different ways. Dallas Summer Musicals, for example, they kind of take advantage of the fact that the number one mobile behavior people display at cultural venues is to take a photo and post it to social media. And since they knew that that was the strongest behavior for mobile, they decided, well, why don't we leverage that and get word of mouth out of it? So what they do is they have selfie stations in the lobby for every production. It might be as simple as step and repeat, or it could be a selfie station specific to the performance. For example, when they did the production of A Christmas Story, they had a selfie station in the lobby where you could take a picture with the leg lamp, or you could have your picture taken with a cardboard cutout of Ralphie. Another way that people use social, Berkeley Rep was working with Anna DeVere Smith in the summer of 2015, and she was doing a show about the school-to-prison pipeline and was encouraging the audience to make proclamations for how they were going to become agents of social change. So Berkeley Rep encouraged the audience to submit those proclamations using the social area of their mobile app. And so they could not only see the proclamations that other people in the audience were making, but it gave Berkeley Rep the ability to have an archive of that interaction as well. So those are just 2 examples of ways in which you can use the social area to prompt social media activity around the event itself. You'll notice there's also an offer screen. So the offer screen allows you to do a number of things. You can highlight the fact that they're there and try to provide a better experience. So maybe you give them the ability to stop by the box offices and see if they can upgrade their seats. Maybe I'm on the mezzanine and I want to get down on the floor. Or maybe you want them to come back and you provide them with offers for tickets to upcoming productions or packages or season subscriptions. It's a great way to move people down your pipeline from single ticket buyer to multi-ticket buyer to subscriber and ultimately to donor. Or maybe you want to provide them an offer to extend the experience they're having by providing them with information about where they can gather after the show and grab a drink with other people who were there and talk about what they saw. So how are theaters using their apps to communicate directly with patrons based on their interests, personal information, and location? One of the things that's happened in the last few years, particularly for iPhone users, is when you download and open an app for the first time, you're often assaulted with this screen that says, do you want to receive notifications? And you're like, whoa, that's kind of weird. It's like asking for a second date before you go out on a first date. I don't know how you're going to use those notifications. I don't know if I want those. I don't want you to spam me. And so we've kind of changed this onboarding process. When someone downloads and opens an app powered by InstantEncore, they are taken to a welcome screen. The welcome screen welcomes people to the app and encourages them to stay connected through notifications. It also reaffirms for them that you're only going to send them messages that are relevant to them. Beneath that, there are two slider bars, as you can see here. One says stay connected with app notifications, and the other says up-to-the-minute news upon arrival to events. Each of those sliders is connected to a pop-up screen from Apple. The first pop-up screen is, would you like to receive notifications? And the second pop-up screen is, would you like for this app to be able to track your location? Now, what Apple doesn't tell you is you can only show those pop-up screens to an app subscriber once. So if you show it to me at the very beginning and I'm just not ready for it, I may opt out and say don't allow. By having these slider bars here, it actually allows the person to turn the slider bar off and say, no, I don't want to do that. When that happens, we will not show them the pop-up screen. And correspondingly, it reserves the right to show them that screen at a later time after they've used the app for a while and have a better understanding of how that app might be using its notifications to communicate with them. But most people leave them enabled and tap on next, and then they're able to tell you what's relevant to them. And they can do that in two ways. They can respond to personal information categories. These categories have a drop-down list of answers that you provide that they can select one. There's also, in addition to personal information categories, you also have interest categories, and these are simple opt-in or opt-out. And they reflect the types of messages you're likely to send. You can see in this example they have special offers. The second one is Wood and O, and Wood and O actually refers to an outdoor amphitheater where they perform. Volunteer support, feature news. You can then target your push notifications based on how people respond to the personal information categories as well as to the interest categories. So Berkeley Rep could say we want to send notification out to people who have opted in to receive alerts about Wood and O. And then the system will isolate people who have responded in that way and only send the message to them. They can then connect that message with content available within the app or content available online. So in that way, they're able to directly communicate with their patrons based on their personal information as well as their personal interests. And then by tracking the location, that enables them to create the geofence messaging, that location-triggered message. So as they're attending events, they can get up-to-the-minute news upon their arrival. So how does your TCG membership make having an app for your theater more affordable than ever? Well, custom development for apps can be expensive. So what we're seeing here is a survey from Kinvey where they were talking to top mobile professionals, asking them how much they spent on the development and deployment of an app. And You're seeing here among these people, and a lot of them were enterprise level apps, so you're looking at about $270,000 in average cost for the development and deployment. That's not even the maintenance. For most arts apps, I think you're looking probably more in the $50,000 to $70,000 level. And then you're talking about time. So 56% of mobile leaders surveyed said it takes from 7 months to more than 1 year to build an app from scratch. Well, at InstantEncore, we're really focusing on bringing down the cost of having a mobile app, as well as bringing down the amount of time it takes to develop and deploy the app. And we can do that because we're an app creation service that has a core infrastructure. So all of the apps powered by InstantEncore, and currently there are hundreds of apps in the App Store that are powered by us, they all share a core infrastructure. And then we customize elements for those apps rather than customizing the entire structure from scratch. So you're not creating the app entirely from scratch. You're just customizing and tweaking elements of it to be specific to the organization. InstantEncore, we're also an arts-focused service. So when we go and create features and functionality for that core infrastructure, we're doing it with an arts focus in mind. So we're paying attention to how can arts organizations leverage these tools to connect with their patrons. And because we use a core infrastructure, we make updates as they're required by Apple and Android as just part of the service. So it's not something that you actually have to pay for. It's just part of our customer service. Whereas if you worked with a custom app developer, you would have to pay for all of the updates that are required by Apple and Android throughout the course of a year. And we also provide shared product evolution. So when we roll out new features, new functionalities, additions to our product, we make that available to everyone. And that reduces the cost. So currently, all of the features in our service are available at no additional cost. We're thinking about adding some premium services or features, but they would be premium because they would cost us extra to be able to provide. But they would still be available to everyone. And that's really important. Whereas if you're dealing with custom development, then everything is being made for you from scratch. You're paying for the development of every additional feature from that deployment point forward. So I said we've been trying to reduce the cost for people to have an app and to maintain one over time. In terms of our pricing structure, our pricing is based on your organization's operating budget. You can choose to go with an annual fee or a monthly fee. If you go with an annual fee, you're getting 12 months for the price of 10. There is a one-time setup fee in the first year. Now, how does your TCG member benefit make this even more affordable for you? Well, as a benefit of your membership, you will receive 10% off the annual fee. And this is for the life of the partnership between TCG and InstantEncore. So it won't just be 10% off the first year. It'll be 10% off each year for as long as InstantEncore and TCG partner together. Now, you may be thinking, this is all awesome, but dude, I don't have the time for that. We're way too busy. There's small staff. We've got too much on our plate. We just can't handle anything more right now. We understand your pain and we're here for you. In August, we launched our App Management Pro service. So with the App Management Pro, it connects you with a mobile expert who will do the heavy lifting for you. They'll work with you to establish your mobile engagement strategy and then implement that strategy by optimizing your app, taking care of scheduling your push notifications, identifying the proper targeting for those, setting up your geofences and scheduling those so that they're connected with your performances, as well as your at the venue experiences, putting in the content, scheduling them, as well as your event content and other content. The App Management Pro service, the pricing for that depends on things like the size of your production season, as well as a number of other things. So if you're interested in learning about the App Management Pro service and would like a quote, please feel free to contact me, and I would be happy to talk with you, ask you some questions so we can provide a better estimate of what that would be. So now we are at the time where we're taking questions. First question that we have come in is, with geofencing, do you see a high opt-out rate because people travel through that geofence on a regular basis? For example, school or church, etc., rather than just for performance. Well, one of the things you can do with geofencing is you can schedule it so that it's only active around the times of performances. And that way, you're only sending those messages out when there's a relevant performance about to take place or taking place presently. Additionally, you can set up, permanent or freestanding geofences. It may not really make sense to do that around a venue where there's a high traffic area, but maybe you think about looking at it a little differently. So maybe I have a geofence that I put around a sponsor. So maybe Home Depot is sponsoring our mobile app this year, and we put up a geofence around Home Depot. And then as people, say we put it like 300 feet, 600 feet away from Home Depot. So usually that's about the size of their parking lot. So if I go into their parking lot, it's going to trigger that message that says, we're so grateful for Home Depot to sponsor our mobile app this season. As you're at the store, remember there's a special offer available in the app, or something to that effect. And that's a great way of using a permanent or freestanding geofence. Another question is, how do you market your app to your audience? And how likely are audiences to actually download the app? Great question. Actually, two great questions. So how do you market your app to your audience? Well, you use the channels that you already have, whether you're using e-newsletters, you're using printed programs, you have electronic screens in the lobby, or maybe you're projecting slides within the theater itself, or you're doing social media, you're doing email campaigns. When I buy a ticket, I get a confirmation email. It's a great place to put information about the mobile app. It's just using the channels that you already have available to you. Now, the question, how likely are audiences to actually download the app? The answer to that question lies with you. You have to answer one question from the audience's point of view. And that question is, why should I? Why should I download your app? And the answer to that question may be different for different segments of your audience. If you're talking about a seasoned subscriber, their answer to that question might be, well, I want to get deeper content. I want to get mobile-only content or mobile-first content. I want to stay alerted to things that are taking place with productions. It could be, really about maintaining a deeper relationship with your brand. Whereas if you're talking about a single ticket buyer, they want to get to know your brand better, but honestly, they're probably more interested in special deals and ticket offers to give them incentive to come back. So you can help move them down that pipeline again from single ticket buyer to multi-ticket buyer to subscriber. And so maybe you have an opt-in category for push notifications around special offers and ticket deals. And if I get mobile-only ticket offers or mobile-first ticket offers, those are great reasons for me to download the app. And then I can continue using the app by having, performance-specific content available on the day of the show. I can have, other opportunities for engaging with content. These are all great things. All right, so those are the only questions that we had come in. So in terms of next steps, I'm going to put the ball in your court. Please feel free to contact me, and I'm happy to schedule a time to show you the control panel and answer any questions you may have. If you would like further information about the app management service and its pricing for your organization, I'd be happy to prepare an estimate. So please feel free to contact me and let me know. And if you just have any questions in general about our service, I'm happy to talk with you. And again, we're really excited to be partnering with TCG and, providing you guys with an even more affordable access to the tools that this service provides. So thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.